Yeah, fine, Aparna and Vishal. I'm audible and you should be able to see my screen.
Yes, yeah, I'm able to see your screen.
Yeah, I'm able to see.
Okay. So yesterday we have just discussed on the conditional split, and today I will be doing a few other components of the data flow transformation. So I just remove off this conditional split here, and then you have your copy column, and then you have your derived column. If you look at both of them, both of these components have similar functionality, but with a slight difference. And let me tell you, we need not really make use of your copy column component here. The same functionality can be embedded even in your derived column stuff. Okay. So if you just need an extra column, okay, or a similar column to be duplicated, okay, for other transformations, we make use of your copy column. Okay. So I'll just discuss on the copy column functionality, and then I'll implement the same functionality in your derived column as well. So I just double click on my copy column. I want to duplicate my product ID. So I would just say duplicate product ID, DPID. Okay. So what I'm actually doing is I'm just taking in two columns as an output. So if you just get into your metadata, you have DPID with the same data type. Okay. So apart from that, you don't have any other functionality. In order to duplicate or make an extra attribute for other transformations, we just make use of your copy column. Similarly, if you want, you can just put on a data viewer here. So you have product ID here and product ID here. So there is no difference. You just get an extra attribute. And if you want to duplicate all the columns, yes, you can duplicate all the columns. Okay. Now, I'm just going to implement the same functionality using your derived column. And derived column is also a pretty good component used. Whenever you need to build on a set of functions, then we go with your derived columns. For example, if I need to have my profit, so your profit would be sales minus production cost. I'm just giving you a basic business logic here. So whenever I say my profit or loss, that will be equal to your sales minus production cost. Okay. So in order to have a set of functions, or in order to perform a set of calculations, we use your derived column. So I just get onto my derived column, and you can just give in some name. I'll just do DPID. If you want, you can just replace your columns or else add it as a new column. So I'm just adding it as a new column, and then I'll say DPID. And in the expression, I just drag and drop in my product ID. And then it's 4 bytes and integer. Integers do not have any length or precision. Okay, so I'm not just defining anything. Okay, but depending upon your data type, you can define some length. So if you are going with your float data type or a numeric data type, then you can have a length, precision, and scale depending on your data types. Okay, and let me tell you, data types have no differences even from other data tools. Okay, it's all the same. And I just click on OK. I'm just adding it as a new column. I'll just put on a data grid here. And I'm just going to execute my stuff. And here I've just got my DPID. So there is no need of going with a copy column. You can also make use of your derived column. And now I'm just going to show you. Here you have got n number of operators like dividend, equal to, and all. And you have also got your string functions. You have also got your string functions. Okay, datetime functions if you are handling your so this is all basic stuff. Okay, so there is nothing much new to learn here. You just have to start using your functions that are available here. So if I want my absolute value of my product ID, so I'll have to give in a numeric expression. So I'll just cut it here and paste it here. Okay, so this will just give me the absolute value of my product ID. Okay, or else if you just want to get a log value, you can just use that. And if you want to get month of a particular date, you can also get the month portion, and this will give you the year portion, and this will give you the day portion. Okay, so you just have to drag and drop in, and then in the expression you'll have to just paste it over there. Okay, now your derived column is also an important transformation, just because it can help you in writing functions inside your SSIS package. So if you just want to have the same value, you can also do that in your structured data by just typing in select log of. So these are all your inbuilt functions, and then you can just say product ID from production.product table. Okay, so it just gives you the log of all the product IDs. Okay, that's the same thing that this also does. Okay, but we use this for semi-structured and unstructured data. Okay, most of the transformations, as I have told you previously, are used for semi-structured and unstructured data. So depending upon your functionality, you can just make use of all of this. I'll just click on OK, and then I'll just see my DPID. So absolute values would be the same. So I'll just put it as something like log. So we'll see some differences. So you can either drag and drop it from the top, or else you can just do it here. So you have got all your log values. Okay. Now, the next one will be your data conversion. Since we have not got any errors at this point of time, I'm not going to use any of my data conversions. I'll just give you a brief overview of this. This is generally used whenever you encounter error or a truncation. Okay, so I've told you why a data truncation happens. Whenever your data flows from a higher data type into a lower data type, okay, then it might error can be occurred or a truncation might be occurring depending upon the values that are available there. Okay, so now what is that you want to change? So do you want to it should be a copy, and here you can change in your data type. So whatever data type you want to convert, you can just do that, but it has to make some sense. So you can only convert it into a higher data type, and converting it into a lower data type will definitely result in an error or in a truncation. Okay, so depending, you can just change it and click on OK, and you just get an output alias of a product ID. Okay, so you have your metadata, you have your copy of product ID. Of course, I did not change any data type, so I'll just change it to 8-byte signed integer. Instead of 4-byte, I've just changed it to 8-byte. So you can say this is DTI4 and this is DTI8. Okay, and of course you can also change the name of your column. So you can just say a new product ID. Okay, and then you can just put on a data grid, and then just execute. Of course, there is no difference. It's just only the data type that makes a difference here. And now, data mining query, we'll just do that with analysis services. Derived column we have done. Now coming on your export column, This is pretty interesting. So we will not be needing this data source. So now I'll have to make a change. Let me give you a bit of theory here. Now, moving from your SQL 2005 onwards, you have got a couple of new data types. I'll just show them directly to you. So I just right click, get onto a new table. Okay. And if I just look into my data types, I have got a data type called ntext, and I have also got a new data type called image. Of course, you have your hierarchy ID and geometry also, which are used for your weather forecasting and other geospatial requirements. Okay. Of course, there are several new data types, but the data types that are commonly used and are pretty much new are image and ntext. So your export column would be working with your image and ntext data types. I repeat my sentence. Your export and import column will be working with image and ntext data types. So if you can see it very clearly. See, these work with ntext, image and text. So it works only with these three data types. And what is that they are going to do? So from SQL 2005 onwards, we have got these new data types, and you can directly save in a file or an image in your SQL server. So now I'll just show you a table which has got images directly saved inside that. So we will have a product photo. Excuse me. Okay. So here you can see these are my images. Okay. So this is a large photo and this is your thumbnail photo. And if you see, these are in the form of your hexadecimal format. So whenever your images are being uploaded to an application and saved inside your SQL server, they would be saved in this format of an hexadecimal. Now, if I want to export these into a given folder, okay, for my FTP activities. So you might get a requirement or not, but I'm just giving you a requirement here. So sometimes you might be having files or images in your SQL system which needs to be exported into your FTP folders, file transfer protocol. Okay, file transfer protocol servers. Okay, for further use. So in these types of scenarios, we will be making use of your export and import transformation there. So this will take the input of your file name and your photo attribute, will extract and export them into a folder. So now basically what I'll do here is, I have already a table called photo now. So let me just do a select star from photo. Doesn't have. I'm just saying, checking if there is already a table or should I create one. Fine. Now what I'll do is, from this I'm going to get in my large photo and my large photo file name. Okay. So I'm going to make use of this table and I'm going to extract these photos using this particular, but I'll have to check if I have these folders or not. I already have them. So these are your pictures. What I do is I'm just removing them, and I'll also remove my photo one. Okay. So this is the path that has been appended to this, and now I'm just going to use my export stuff here. I will have to change in my source as well. So I'll just write in a query here. I would just take only 2 columns from this. I would take my large photo file name, comma, a large photo. So I'm just taking my file name and photo from the database. So I'm using my SQL command and I'm just pasting it here. I get onto my columns, I just have 2 columns. I'm not considering everything, okay? Just click on. Okay. Now I just double click on my export column. Now what is the column that you'll have to extract? Okay, I'll have to extract my large photos and my file path is in my large photo file name. And you have got 3 options here: allow append, force truncate, and write byte order mark. Fine. Now coming on to your append and truncate. Do you want to append the files to the folder? And let me tell you, this is the best option and the most used option. So we might already have a couple of files in the residing folder and we just want to add these images or text files to your existing folder. And if you just go with force truncate, you can say allow append would automatically be removed. When I say force truncate, all the existing files would be truncated and only these files from this export transformation will be placed there. Okay, so depending upon your requirement, you can make use of either one of these options, but most basically we go with this because we will have hundreds of files which are already there in your FTP server and we do not want to truncate them. So we basically go with append. Okay, and moving on to your write byte order mark, this is completely different and this is not needed for your images basically. So this is something, a kind of signature thing. Do you want to export your signature along with your file? And this is meant only for text and in text. This does not stand valid for image even though you select it. Okay, your write byte order mark will stand valid only for text and in text data types. It does not stand valid for your image data type. Okay. So even though you select, you don't select, it doesn't make a difference. And we always go with allow append. And if you go with force truncate, it just removes all the existing files that are available there. You just click on OK, and that's it. We are done. So it has transferred 8 rows, and you just get your files here. So you have got 6 files here and 8 files there. Okay, and if you just want to update them, even these 2 also into that folder, you can just do that. So I'll just say edit. I'll just edit in my data. One second. Let me just commit it. So everything is in photo now. So again, I just go back here, get onto my export column. Now I'll say force truncate. Remove everything, and even though I'll just remove this, you can see it doesn't make any difference. I just click on OK and I execute that. So I've got 8 rows, and if you see here, I have got 8 images since I have used a force truncate. So whatever is existing in your folder would be truncated, and this would be placed. And even then, in your photo 1, you might be having 2. I'll just remove this and again re-execute my package. You'll see there will be no photos that will be placed up in your photo 1. It just get stuck up. Excuse me. So just get any questions, you can just stop right away. Let it be force truncate. I'll just have 8 images in my photo. I just execute it up. So you can see in photo 1 I do not have any photos, and in this I've got 8 photos. Okay. So you can also, one more last run that I'm going to perform. So I'll remove everything in photo and photo 1. This is a bit annoying. So I just get onto my data flow and nothing much has changed. I just re-execute it. And then I'm just going to stop my debugging. It will come up. So you can see I have removed them and all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I have got all the 8 images of my products. Okay. Doesn't even turn up. Fine. And let me tell you, your export and import column are a bit of resource intensive. Okay, because they will be handling huge. If your files are very huge, all these files will be initially placed into your cache and then will be pushed up. Okay, so when you are using your export and import column transformations, you'll have to be a bit careful on your amount of RAM that is installed on your system. Okay. Now I'll just show you an opposite of your export column, which is your import column component. So along with export column, you have import column. Now what does your import column does? Your import column takes an input of your file name and then it's going to place in your object there. Okay, it's just an opposite of this. So what I'll do is I will take in the same source. Okay, it's just nothing but all general stuff, description, ID and all those things. Now I'll just get onto my input columns and I'll take in my large photo file name. Okay, I'm just taking in the file path. I'm not taking in my photo. And I just get onto my input and output properties. And then you have import column output. Okay, so I just click on OK here and still it's red in color. Okay, the reason being we will have to map the outputs. This component is a bit different here. See, till now all the components had everything readily available for us, but this component is where we will have to do a bit of extra thing now. So before doing that, let me just create a table or prepare a table. Okay. Star into, I'll just say photo, just say iPhoto, import photo. Don't say star. I'm just preparing a table, that's it, nothing much more. So I have got iPhoto here. So it has got all empty data here. Okay. So it needs to have large photo file name and large photo that needs to be imported from your folder. So now I'm just going to populate this table with my path and with the photo using my import transformation. Okay. So we just had a blank table. I just prepared it. Now that's a bit different, as I've already told you. We will have to configure your output columns now. So how do we configure our output columns? So I'll just add in a column and then I will say this to be my file name. Okay, this takes as an image. Let me just go with remove column and add in a column. Let me say it as an image. Okay. Now, and the data type is of image data type. So what is that I'm taking as an output is my image. Now we will have Okay, you just have one input column. Okay. Now I just defined one output column as my image. Just click on OK. I still have an error. Okay. Just one more thing we'll have to do is. So there is one input column. It's taking an input column from this and it is processing the file which is in that folder, and the output would be an image. Now just one thing what we'll have to do is, here you'll have to consider the ID of this particular output. So the ID and the lineage ID both would be the same, but sometimes it could be a different also. So we will just take the lineage ID from here, get onto your large photo file name, and here you can just click on your file data column ID and you can just read it. It specifies the ID of the output column to receive the file data. So here we will have to place in the ID. It's very bigger. So let me just get 368. So I'll just put it as 3, 6 and 8. Okay. So now here I have got 368 and you can just read it here. We will have to specify the ID of the output column to receive the file data. Okay. And are you expecting a bomb? Okay. True or false? If your files have attested signature, such as your PDF or any other stuff, which might be having your byte order marks, are you expecting it or not? Basically, I'm not expecting it. So it will be false. And still you have got a warning stating that the import column 357 is not referenced by any input column. Okay. Where did I get this 357 from? It's a warning and this can be generally ignored. Anyhow, I'll just map it here. I'm sorry. This is 364. Let me just say 3, 6 and 4. Let me just click on OK. Fine. I have all the warnings and everything removed. So I'm just taking only one input from my file, okay, which will be the path along with my file name. But if it is your FTP server, you would directly get a list in an Excel sheet or a flat file, okay. So that will be even pretty simpler. So I just click on cancel to this, and now I'll have to put on a SQL Server destination because I want to copy all that into a SQL Server destination. So now I'll have to create another connection manager for this. So I'll just say a new connection manager. It's Adventure Works only. And here I'll have my iPhoto. Okay. And I'll just do a normal table, no fast load, nothing else. I'll discuss on the fast load a bit later. Okay. So I'm just doing a direct data access mode using a table, which is my iPhoto here. And I'll just get onto my mappings. Now we should not tag this, I should be tagging in my image. So what will happen is the input columns of my large photo file name will go here and my image will go here. Of course, if you just type in your large photo from your source will directly go and sit there. Okay. So if you see in the metadata, you will have large photo and image, but image is the output column that we have configured. Okay, or else we'll do one more stuff here. We'll remove the large photo from here. So we'll still have a better clear picture of this. Okay. So input columns, we just have only one input column. And here we have created an output column by just clicking on add column. Okay. So this is something a bit new to us. Okay. Just click on OK, and now I'm just going to execute it. So I've got 8 rows transferred. I'll just stop debugging my package. Okay, so I've got all my files dumped in to my SQL table. Okay, and this is in your hexadecimal format. And now I'll just show you one more option. Mm, okay. I'll show you a bit later. Okay. Let's not go with fast load immediately right now. Let's initially finish up the transformations. Okay. I'll tell you how to truncate this also. So basically, okay, let me execute this one more time. I'll just show you that pretty quick. So I've got another 8 rows transfer to this. And I'm just executing it. I have got 16 rows here. Now you should basically see if this package is deployed and scheduled, what's going to happen? You're going to get multiple packages appended to it. So this will work perfectly whenever you want to append the records to the existing table. But if you want to add it as a fresh data, you do not have an option here of truncating your data. Okay. So now I'm just adding one more extra requirement here. So what I'll do now is I'll go to my control flow and I'll just use my execute SQL task. I'm just using in my execute SQL task, after which I'll be running my data flow task. Now in this, I'm just going to define in my connection manager adventure works itself, and here I'm just going to give a command, truncate table iPhoto. Okay, I'll just paste it over here, or else you can just paste it. Okay. So nothing much here. Of course, you have other stuff like parameter mapping and result set. For now, what I'm directly doing, I'm just directly giving in a direct input. You have several other inputs also, and I'm just directly giving in my command and my connection type and my result set. I'm not collecting any of my result set. Okay. So I'm just executing a query, truncate table iPhoto, and then I'm going to execute my data flow task. So now I'll stop my debugging. I get onto my management studio. So every time you execute, it will be only 8 records because we are basically truncating it prior to your data flow task, and then we are dumping in the data. Okay. So this is just one extra requirement. So depending upon your requirement, whether you want to append it or you want to just truncate it. Excuse me, guys. Okay. So that's about your export column and import column. Any questions, any queries in both of them, just let me know. All good?
Yeah, in case our output is a file and we have to just remove that file. So how can we, let's say, run a command like rm-f or delete the file from Windows? How can we do that?
Yeah. Actually, you do not have rename and all that stuff. You directly have a file system task. So in this, you can delete a directory, delete a file directly.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Naresh, suppose if we want to transfer the file to a different server itself instead of cphoto, how do we do that?
okay. You want to transfer all the files from cphoto to cphoto, let me say. That's all.
No, I'm asking to a totally different server.
Okay. When you say totally different server, is it a different Windows operating system folder or is it an FTP folder?
FTP folder.
Yeah, for FTP folder you have an FTP task. Of course, I do not have FTP servers with me. So here you have your file transfer. You can give your source, that is your local path, and a remote path will be your destination, and then you can send in all the files.
Okay, thank you.
See, you do not have any commands, any kinds of stuff, okay? So it's simply straightforward. You just have to configure all the components, okay? And basically, if you want to do it from an operating system to operating system, again you can have your file system task, and you can copy your entire directory. You have move directory and move file. You do not have a copy directory, I'm surprised. Yeah, you do not have your copy. Yeah, you have, man, copy directory, I'm sorry. So you can copy the entire directory, okay? So it's all pretty simple. You don't have to use all your command lines, CMD lines also. You can directly make use of them. So anyway, I'm still not come with my control flow components. So that's about your export and import columns. Now I'll just go with lookup first, and then we'll go with fuzzy lookup. Okay. So lookup is also very, very important component. Okay. And this is mostly used in for almost like a couple of searches that we perform. Okay. So I just drag and drop in my lookup, and let me tell you, lookup is also very performance intensive. That means it is also going to consume huge amount of resources. Okay. And I'm just going. I'll have to have a number of things. Let me just in order to check this out. You have your full cache, partial cache, and no cache. So now we will also have to discuss on your cache transform. Okay. Now what I'll do is, first we will work on cache transform and then come up with your lookup. So I'll just remove all this. I'll put on OLDB source, a fresh one. And then I'm going to select in my production.product table. Get onto my columns. I'll select a couple of columns here again. Okay. I think that should be more or less fine. And click on OK. I'm just going to put on your cache transform. Now, what do you mean by a cache transform? See, whenever you are running short of your RAM, your cache transform comes very handy. Okay, so this cache transform will convert a portion of your hard disk into your RAM. Okay, so it's a concept of your virtual memory taken from Windows and implemented in your integration services. Okay, basically it's a functionality that is available in your Windows. So I'll just show you the concept of Windows and then come back to this. So I just get onto my properties, get onto my advanced, and I have my performance, advanced, and then I have my virtual memory. See, a paging file is an area on the hard disk that Windows uses as if it were RAM. It's the same functionality your cache transform is also going to use. Okay, it's going to use an area on the hard disk which is nothing but my file system. Let me check if I have a file here. No, I do not have a file here. Okay, so it's just a file now. Now I double click on this. I'll have to define a connection manager for my cache as well. I just click on new. Okay, you can just give in some name. So I'll just say cache connection manager. Okay. Okay. And now I'll have to use a file cache, or else what is going to happen is it is going to save all that information into your RAM. So we will not use this option in case you have got huge amount of RAM with you. Okay, but that is not what we are going to do here. We are basically using this concept. We are using this concept. Okay, a paging file is an area on the hard disk. Okay, so we are just going to use this particular option now, and we are going to save our RAM here. Okay, so what I'm just going to do here is I'll just say use file cache. I'll just browse it here, and I'll go onto my desktop, and then I will just say test. else let me not do a test. Let me just say it as catchy. So just give it a name, and the extension, remember, it will be .caw file. Just click on open, and if you want to refresh your metadata, you can just refresh it, but we are least bothered about the metadata. Okay, it's all system controlled, so we just leave it to the system itself. Okay, we do not refresh your metadata, and we are not even also going to have any protection for it. And I just get on to my columns. So these are all the columns you have got. And one important thing you will have to remember is you will have to maintain at least one index for your cache file. See, we are adding multiple performance counters to increase your overall performance of your lookup. Because as I have already told you, your lookup is very performance intensive, and you need to ensure that your performance is at the best. So what is the first thing we are doing? Instead of wasting our RAM or the internal memory, we are using a portion of our hard disk to function as a RAM for us. And we are also having an index. So I'll just have only one index. If you want to have multiple indexes, you'll have to give like 1, 2, 3, and 4 consequently. Okay. So we are just giving in the index position, so this product ID will work as a index. Okay. Now we all know indexes again boost up the performance. I just click on OK, and I get onto my mappings. So I'll ensure all the product IDs have. What will happen if I don't give an index? It will not allow you. It will say there should be at least one index. Okay, so this tool is very intelligent enough to boost up your performance. Just click on OK, click on OK. That's it. We are done. So I have transferred all the 504 records into my cache. And now I get onto my desktop, excuse me, and I have got my cache.cw. And remember one thing, in real-time scenarios, your cache file will not be on a C drive. You will have to select a drive, okay, which has got least amount of information on it, or which is completely free. And generally what happens is, if you have got n number of packages with using your cache file components, what people do is they install a separate drive somewhere around like 10 to 15 GB, not more than that. And they will implement the disk read-write performance is very high. Okay, but anyhow, that is at a very high level of your capacity planning and your server planning. Okay, but remember, it will not be on your C drive. It should be on a drive which is of a smaller size, and it should be completely free. Okay, so I've just done my cache transform, and now I'm just going to remove this. Now I will take in a flat file. Okay, let me take in a SolidDB source and the same product table. Now I'll just take in my product ID, and now I'm going to go for a lookup. Okay, now you have your full cache, partial cache, and no cache. So if I go with a no cache or a partial cache, you can see my cache connection manager is not highlighted. Okay, this is just fading out. So you can use a cache file only with full cache mode. Okay, in your lookup transformation. Now let me tell you what does your lookup do, and then we will go with a hands-on. So from the name itself, you can come to know lookup. It's going to look up for a value. For example, your lookup is used in most of your automated applications. See, you call up your airliner and then you say, I just need to check the information of my flight. So you just give one input. So your lookup is mostly used when there is only one input and it has to be checked, or it has to be referenced in a whole of data set. Okay. So Now what did I do in the previous step? I transferred all my 500 odd records into this particular file. So this will be my referencing object. I will submit in a single value to my OLDB source. Okay. Actually, you can just say, you can write in a command, select one. Okay. As ID. Okay. Now we'll just see what will be your output here before going to the lookup. Okay. So again, I take in a multicast. I'm just checking what will be my output. Okay. So get onto your data viewer, click on add, and then we'll just execute it up. Okay, I have got one. So I'm just submitting in a single value. Okay. Of course, the value can come from a flat file. It can come from anywhere. Okay. But a lookup will take only one single input. Okay. And then it will check for your referenced data, and it will give you the other values. For example, if I submit my flight number, it is going to get me all the other details, okay, from the given set of information. So from a given airport, you might have somewhere like 20,000 or 10,000 flights at the max on a per day that would take up or come into the airport. Okay, so you will not be having maximum number of flights. So in those types of cases, then you go with this kinds of search. Or else you have your car models. Of course, you might not be having millions of car models, right? So even in that case also, this particular lookup can be used. So this is used for with normally sized data. Of course, this cannot be used with millions of record sets because it's very memory intensive. But just in case, even if you have got 1 million or 10 million record set, you still can go with your full cache mode. But if it is less than like 10 grand or 20 grand, then you can go with a partial cache or a no cache. Okay. But of course, anything that goes into millions, then it's obviously recommended to go with a full cache. So only in full cache mode you can select a cache connection manager, or else you'll have to go with an OLDB. Now what happens is when you go with an OLDB connection manager, your RAM is eaten up first, and then it also makes a connection to your SQL system. Okay. And let me tell you, in a real-time environment, see, every day my flights might be increased or decreased depending upon the weather and other factors. So this cache file needs to be refreshed on a regular basis. That is what happens. Okay. So before you run your lookup SSIS package, we will have to run the first package, that is your cache package first, and then only your lookup package needs to be executed. So just keep that one thing in mind. So how do we accomplish it? We accomplish that kind of requirement using an execute package task. Okay. So we have a component called execute package task. So I just double click on this. So what I'll do is I'll just select that package first. Okay. Assume you have that in your package 1. You have your cache transformation in package 1. So we just select in the package 1, execute that package first so that your cache is refreshed, and then we perform a lookup. Okay. So I'm still not come to control flow, but I'm just giving you a idea on that. Okay. So first we execute the package which refreshes your cache file. Of course, we know here it's only 504 records and it's not going to change. Okay. So now I again get back to my lookup. It's a full cache I'm performing, and I just go with my cache connection manager. I get onto my connection now, and I already have my connection manager here, which is making use of that particular cache file. Now get onto my columns. I have my ID, and I need to look up in my product ID. Okay, so these are my available values and these are my lookup values. So I'm just going and looking up. And what is that I want to as an output? I want everything to be displayed. So do you want to replace ID? Yes, I want to replace ID for my product ID. Okay, and all other things would be added as a new column. So if I just submit a value, I'll be getting all the other referenced values of this. Okay, so this is what generally people do, and they just click on OK. So it's perfectly done, and now I want to see an output. I'll directly see the output on the screen instead of dumping it into a file. So I'm just taking in my matched output, and I'm ignoring my non-match output. You also have matching and non-matching. So if you want, we can see both of them. Okay, so just put on a data grid for this. And a data grid for this. Okay, and now I just execute it. So 1 is an input. So I've got adjustable race, null, and all these details. Okay, this is my match output. Non-match output, I don't have any stuff, so it's not displayed. Now what I'll do is, in my OLDB source, I will just say 7. So I'm taking 7 as an output. Now you just have got a warning. Okay, let's see. This failed. Now why did it fail? I get onto my execution results. So this is your logging. So all this will be in your log file. Okay, but since we are already working in the initial phase, I am just checking directly in my execution results. But in a real-time scenario, once your package is deployed, you will have all this information in your log file, logging. Okay, so I'm just going through here, and I just will consider my first error. Excuse me. Okay, here I have got row yielded no match during lookup. So you cannot read everything here. So we'll just copy the message text onto the notepad. Lookup component failed. It says there might be error post. So this is the error, row yielded no match during lookup. That means there is no 7 in our production.product table. Select product ID from production.product table. I'll say order by 1. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I do not have 7. That's the reason it failed. Okay. So now what I'll do is I'll just get onto my data flow now. I'll get onto my lookup, and here you just have an option. Specify how to handle rows with no matching entries. For example, if you just have it, you can just ignore the failure, or redirect rows to error output, or redirect the rows to a no match output. So you can just, depending upon the requirement, you can select one of these options. If you just ignore failure, you will not see any output. And redirecting rows to an error output is the best option used, but we have not yet still seen how to handle your error outputs. Okay, so you have got an error output for this, an error output for this. There will be no error output for multicast. Okay, so we have not yet seen how to handle the error outputs. Okay, so that's not a problem. So what I'll do initially is I'll not fail the component, I'll not ignore the failure, and I'll also not push to error output. So let us redirect the rows to a no match output. That means it will come up here, and you can see my warning is removed, or else we'll just see that. I'll also say redirect rows to my error output, and I just got a warning. You can just put on here, and it says rows sent to error outputs will be lost, because your error output is just blank here. So I'll just put on a multicast for this also. Okay, now I just want to redirect my record, and for truncation also I want to redirect my record. I do not want anything to fail. So in case of error and in case of truncation, I want both of them to be redirected. Okay. So here also I'll just put on a data viewer. Actually your error output is also pretty simple. Okay. I thought of explaining it completely, but anyhow, this is only the basic. I'll explain it in detail. Okay. So I've just taken in an error output, I have taken in a matching output and a no match output. See, I've just got a one output here at my error output. The component does not supply error code description. Okay, it's not supporting or giving me any error. So this is the output that you generally get it, and my product ID is null because it was not matching. And I got null because I am replacing the product ID in my lookup. Okay. Excuse me. Okay. So I'm just, it's my phone, I'm sorry. So since I've used my replace the product ID, I've just got in my null. If I have might used as a new column, then here I would have got my 7. Okay. So that is how you would be handling the values that are not available. That is with full cache. Okay. Now let us discuss on the partial cache and no cache. But prior to that, let me just give one more value here. Let me say if I want to give multiple values, I'll just select 1, 2. Okay. I think I cannot use it. So I'll just use one more stuff, something like 391. Just only single value that I'm providing. One second, guys. Okay. Now I'll just execute my package one last time with this option. I've got 391, which has got again some information on it. Okay. So this is usually looked up for all kinds of business lookups. Okay. Now I'm using the same option, but now I'll go with a partial cache. Now when you go with a partial cache option, you can see here clearly you do not have a cache connection manager. You will have to go with an OLEDB connection manager. So I just go with a connection, and now I'll have to define my connection. So instead of my cache, I'll use my production.product table. Okay, or else you can write a query. Of course, I'm pulling in all the information. Okay. Now I get into my columns. I make use of my make flag. I make use of my standard cost, a class, style, weight of the product. Okay. So I'm just pulling in much of the information here. And now I get onto my advanced tab here. So if you see your advanced tab here, how much of RAM you need to allocate it. So what will happen here is, okay, full cache, partial cache, and no cache. In full cache, it's purely making of your complete cache file. In partial cache, it will make use of a portion of RAM. This is similar to your cursor concept in databases. Okay. What will happen here is all the data from that particular table will be picked up and will be saved in a portion of your RAM. And that portion of RAM cannot be reutilized. Okay. So this option should never ever be used. Okay. But I'm just giving you the concept. Okay. So what happens here is, if you have got like 2 GB of data in a table, your 2 GB of RAM is gone completely until your Windows Server reboots. Okay, your RAM will not be freed up, or else your operating system guys should free up that particular portion of RAM. Actually, there are a couple of bugs with this option here in your lookup transformation. Okay. But what this generally does is it allocates a portion. It could be a 32-bit or 64-bit operating system, but mine is a 32-bit system. If it is a 64-bit system, you can specify the amount of cache or a RAM that needs to be allocated. Basically, people try to save RAM, but in this option, it allocates a portion of RAM to it. Okay, so that's the only option. If I again go with general, full cache and advanced, this is disabled. It works only with partial cache. Even if I go with no cache, you do not have any of this. So your partial caching will work only with partial cache option in your advanced. Okay, so you can just select any one of this. So what will happen is the product table is taken from here, and in that 25 MB RAM portion this is placed. Okay, of course you will not have any difference. The output would be the same. The processing style varies. Okay, the same output. There is no difference. Okay, now even if I go with a no cache and I just go with the same connection, no advanced here, you can select all the columns, just click on OK and execute my package. It's again the same output. Okay, so it doesn't make any difference in the output if you go with any one of your cache options, but the difference will be how we are going to utilize your RAM and boost up your performance. Okay, and the first option with cache is the most used option. So any questions in your lookup, just let me know. So tomorrow we will go with fuzzy grouping and fuzzy lookup and all other remaining transformations. We should be mostly doing with all of them tomorrow. Clear on this? You also have a term lookup, okay, which will look out for a particular category of word. So this is also mostly used, your term lookup. So this is mostly used for reviewing your customer feedbacks. So whenever a customer gives the feedback and you want an SSIS package in order to analyze the customer feedbacks, then we use the term lookup and term extractions. Okay, and your input columns and all lookups and your fuzzy or normal lookups are used for your searching purpose, and fuzzy lookup is used for voice interactive systems. Okay, so depending upon from requirement to requirement, you can keep using that. So any questions, any queries? Yeah, so I've just done a couple of transformations. So you can just get the recording and just go through them. Okay.
Naresh, will you be sending us the PDF?
PDF for?
For all these tutorials like SSIS and AS and RS. You were mentioning about the PDF, right? So that we can just read the notes or something.
Yeah, definitely. But I wouldn't prefer you guys reading the PDF file before the sessions. But that's okay. So here you have your SSIS PDF, Microsoft SQL Server 2008 step by step. Okay. You can just directly download it from here. It's actually 2005. Yeah, this is 2005. Similarly, you can get a 2008. So that's not a problem at all. So you can just, if you want, I can search it for you and give you a direct link, or else you can do it from here. Okay.
Okay.
Just do that and check it. Okay. In case you don't get it, I'll just do the search and give you a link. So this is what I do. Or else I might even give you a rapid share link also. Fine. Yeah. Any other questions? Okay guys, then I think I'm done for the day. So tomorrow we'll look into other transformations and we will study them, and later I'll go with the control flow components, and then we will take up our case studies. Okay. Yeah. Vishal, any queries from you? All good?
Yeah, all clear.
Okay, fine. Aparna, just do a search in your Photoshop.com. In case you get a PDF, it's all good, or else I'll just give you a link directly.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, fine. See you all tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
You are the only participant in this conference. Press any key to continue this conference. Press any key to continue this conference. Press any key to continue this conference. Goodbye.